Welcome to the Tech 1-2 podcast. Today we are talking about some very important topic about silos, uniting IT, operations, and marketing. We have two special guests in the studio today. We have Marty Hitzman, who is the Director of Marketing here at Empus, and we have Andrew Beauchantin, who is the Chief Operating Officer here at Empus. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, John.
Good. Well, we talk about this, and it was very important to have both of you in the studio today to just talk about things also as it applies to us. We have these departments specific in IT operations and marketing, and I really wanted to bring you guys in so that you can share your experiences for our audience on how they can address these things, how they can break down the silos of these departments and really work together as a single unit to really help their businesses grow. So as we get started, and just let's talk about just the silo. How do we first identify the problem within a department? Hey, Marty?
Yeah, I mean, I think, silos happen because when people aren't communicating with each other or they're not using similar platforms. One of the things that we've done here is kind of solve that by, using a product that brings sales, marketing, and operations all into one view so that we can keep our KPIs correct. We can, see data across the organization that really is valuable to us and helps us run our business better.
Well, I mean, why would you say that? Would you say is it because of is it just you bringing it together because there was duplication of work?
Duplication of work. Also, we had different platforms that weren't talking to each other. That causes problems all over the place, from not having visibility into what somebody else is doing, or not knowing is marketing on message with what the organization's doing. So.
Yeah. Makes sense. Andrew?
Yeah, just to add to that, those are some great points, Marty. Ultimately, it does come down to communication. It also comes down to setting the appropriate expectations. And we have several core values, not the least of which is being aligned. So oftentimes departments get siloed when they have goals within their department, but they don't understand the goals at a higher level of the organization and how they're aligned and tied to those goals. So one of the things that we do a little differently at Empist is we have a quarterly managers meeting where we get everybody together and we have shared objectives, and we call them objectives and key results, OKRs, where we set company-wide, departmental, and even individual goals and understand how they're aligned with each other. So alignment is key, good communication, yes, good integration between platforms, and finally having one place visible where everybody can see what are the objectives we're striving for, what are the key metrics, what are our high-level company-wide objectives, what are our departmental objectives, what are the key performance indicators, but they're visible so that we can eliminate the redundancy between teams, and also how do we share those goals across teams as well?
So those are all great points. And yes, the managers meeting, getting everybody aligned. I mean, one of our core values is we are aligned, very important. So when we implemented all these things, I mean, we had challenges. We wanted to get people more aligned, rowing in the same direction. Outside of just the managers meeting, getting people aligned, I mean, what other ways have you seen that have really helped with alignment between these silos of departments? It's a big issue, yes. If you're working for the same company, you're trying to achieve the same mission, the same vision, but if you're operating in a silo and you don't know what the other side is doing, we've experienced it. That creates strain. It could create some stress within the organization. So what else can organizations do on that? You've identified the problem, but how can you fix it?
Well, I mean, using systems like, I don't know if you care if we mention it, but, we use HubSpot here. And, one of the things that we can see now is, other accountability is another value we have. So being able to build out reports and things and dashboards that actually look at every place. So if I can go into sales and see, are these leads any good? Maybe we just want to get, from a marketing team, look at all the leads coming in. But maybe they might not be good enough for sales. So sales probably wants higher quality leads, things more aligned with our ICP. We can go in and actually pull up a report and see exactly what's happening and see what sales is doing, or even look into particular things that are happening that tell us like, oh, they're having a problem because we have the wrong ICP, or would they have a problem because this quality lead wasn't exactly what we're looking for or didn't have a need that was immediate. So using tools like that help us communicate across and keep each other accountable.
So you mentioned just the tools piece of it. There's many different products that are out there, but you also need to specialize in operating those tools. We know that, okay, yes, it isn't just buying a subscription. It's very easy to buy a subscription for CRM, ERP
Yep.
platforms, but what are some ways, just from a competency perspective, in operating those tools? You mentioned just the accountability piece, and yes, we are accountable, very important, and we want to make sure that we are aligned and everybody's aligned and accountable. But just with the tools that you mentioned, what have been some areas that organizations can really benefit from building some proficiency or competency in those tools that they're operating in?
Well, I mean, that's a whole operations question. I mean, workflows and managing process. Like,
Yeah, I think it comes down to you have to have somebody responsible as subject matter expert and ultimately not just the administrator of the platform, but understands the feature set and can explain it to others. Oftentimes, what happens in a lot of organizations is you get application sprawl because you're getting one application to address one issue and it addresses the need for that department. And that happened actually even early on with HubSpot. We identified we had a certain need for marketing, for attribution, for the life of a particular prospective client coming aboard, and understanding what that life cycle looks like and how we can better generate good qualified leads for our organization. So we were using it primarily as a marketing tool. Meanwhile, we were using Salesforce as our primary CRM. So it took having somebody who was a subject matter expert on HubSpot, as well as our subject matter experts on Salesforce, and then looking at what is the redundancy we have across those two applications, and how are we going to move that forward given the feature set. So where I think a lot of organizations, and we're not unique in that regard, I think this is probably a majority of organizations, if they look across their entire application stack, they have a lot of applications that could probably do other things and perhaps do other things more effectively. So then it comes down to business process improvement. What are we looking to achieve? Do we have transparent objectives at the top level? And how can we utilize what we currently have in place to achieve some of those things? So just thinking about it from an IMPA standpoint, and John, you've been involved in this quite a bit as well, is we really needed to understand what we have currently. Do we have redundancy, and are we utilizing one application only for one particular feature? Can we get that from another application? And then once you consolidate your application stack, it's about building the integration between those, as well as the reporting, the key performance indicators, and at an individual level, individual contributor level, knowing what are the things that matter most within my role. And I think that's probably the most difficult, especially some departments are very easy. We have a service department, we can look at metrics that are very quantifiable. You have a marketing team where it's maybe less quantifiable, but defining what those key metrics are and how do we present those, not just to the team, but to the organization at large to understand how they fit into what our objectives and goals are.
Yeah, I mean, great points. The effectiveness issue is a real problem that businesses face because oftentimes there isn't a lack of investment in the tools and platforms. You have this major application sprawl that's happening, a lot of shadow IT as well. You have different departments using their own applications. And just to find out that if you had just invested a little bit more in the platform that you had already invested in, as far as time and competency and proficiency, you may be able to consolidate. And that's a big area where we look at just kind of the applications and tools from an operations perspective, not limited to marketing across the entire organization, that you can really drive some operational efficiencies by doing some consolidation.
Yeah,
So-
I'd like to add to that real quick.
Sure, go
Sorry, I
ahead.
don't mean to cut you off,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to note is sometimes the reason why there's application sprawl is that leadership, somebody at the leadership level, could be the COO, could be the CEO, in some cases maybe even the CFO, but we make an investment in this application and they somehow become the experts on it, if you want to call it that, experts. They understand why we put it in place, and understand that perhaps there are other tools that we can utilize that we may not need this tool anymore, But you get to a point where we have to evaluate that and understand why are we utilizing this application and what are we looking to achieve. So it's actually in many cases in individuals in the leadership role in the C-suite understand that they have certain goals, but they look at it only from maybe a particular viewpoint as opposed to what do we have as far as applications and how can we utilize those features and how can we integrate them. More importantly, how can we consolidate it and how can we trim it down to get to the point where we are now efficiently achieving our goals and driving our goals through automation as opposed to just being reactive to all the things that we need to do, or even worse, trying to do all those things manually. There's a lot of organizations,
ton of manual work.
believe it today, that still operate almost all of their financials through spreadsheets or just in QuickBooks, right? As opposed to understanding we can push that information to us and make quicker decisions. And I think that comes down to business process improvement. What are we trying to do holistically at a high level? What are our objectives and goals? Now, how do we achieve that through a more automated fashion? And I not trying to blow smoke at you, John, but you did a very good job of really driving that as well for Empist and saying, hey, we got too much happening right now. Let's just zero in on what are our objectives and what are we trying to achieve and how can we use what we already have. And it has resulted actually in us. It wasn't a matter of the organization was being drained significantly from applications that we were paying on an annual basis, but why did we have them in place? We weren't being drained necessarily because of the cost, even though that was a factor. It was the inefficiencies of operations and the workflows that was draining us.
Yeah.
That's what siloed us. So I think it's very important to look at it at high level, and the best way to get teams away from being siloed is to provide transparency and to have that communication, and then also to work individually, as you know, even we did with your team, on developing really sound KPIs that make sense for them.
Yeah, and well, in addition to supporting other parts of the organization, whether that's from sales, whether that's from customer service, or communicating out to clients the things that they need to know about what we're doing. So all of that matters, and that all comes down to, what are you using? What's your tool set?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, finding common ground here on, okay, different departments have different specializations. They're in that department because they do what they do very well. And there's this, many departments may think that the application that they're using is the most important one and it's the best one for them. Siloed, right? Then another department is looking at the application that they're using and yes, it's the best one. Another one is doing the same thing. And you do this over, what happens? You then have this huge sprawl. All these departments are using very specific, oftentimes best-in-class products for just what they're doing.
Correct.
But not having visibility to the whole. So yes, leadership does need to drive that. It's very important. Finding that common ground, seeing where the overlap is, not just in platforms, but let's just talk a little bit about, especially from a marketing perspective, and as we've operated and being able to now bring data in a single place where we can actually be more effective. Now, you mentioned, Marty, yes, on the sales and lead, and Andrew, you mentioned leads as well. But let's talk about something that's extremely important to us, and that's how we better service our clients. Better servicing our clients by having the information in a place that allows us to have very specific messaging, for example. Be able to identify clients that may be at risk of something because they're not subscribed to a service. Just some of the things that we've done, and we don't need to talk the specific of the workflow that we've done, but just how has that benefited from the collaboration, communication, and alignment between departments by doing that?
Well, first off, we've centralized information so that everyone can see it. Whether you're in sales or marketing or operations, you can find data in a single place. And we've also been able to automate, from a lead standpoint, you automate is this a good lead? Is this an A, B, or C? And then from a client service, you can look at a client and say, are they aligned with us? And we have all this information in there that tells us they might be at risk because they're not aligned. And then we can score them automatically. And, we put in things that are very easily see, red, yellow, green, right? Green is good, red's bad. And if you're moving through that process, there's a yellow, right? So warning signs can come up.
Yeah, that's key. The alignment piece of it and be able to drive that. And when we talk about even just the departments and collaboration, So let's just even put a set aside the tools and platforms.
Yep.
What's behind the tools and platforms? People.
Absolutely.
So, what type of collaboration can organizations really put in place between departments that will allow them to better understand like what's happening? You know, marketing, for example, to better understand what's happening on the ops side, so that they could be empathetic. You know, the team understands what's happening. Same thing on the ops side, even just whether it's service delivery, whatever part of ops that we're talking about, understand what billing goes through and the stuff that billing what happens in the billing process, just to be more empathetic and understand, yes, when we have this type of request from, let's say, ops has for marketing, we need to send out an email blast quickly, and not understanding what it takes to do that, to be effective, and vice versa. Service delivery, not knowing what's happening on let's say, the billing or back office side. What can companies do to promote more collaboration between departments so that they can sync up better?
Well, I think it's important, number one, to share a vision and a mission. I mean, we need to understand, why are we coming in every day? I mean, for us, it's because we want to service our clients. We want to be there to help build their businesses. It's fun part about what we do at Impest is we get to learn about so many incredible businesses that are out there, and we play a central part in helping them grow their businesses and to achieve their goals and to become more efficient. So, why are we doing what we're doing every day? And there has to be a shared vision and a shared mission around that. So, one of the most important things that I think organizations should do and can do, and one of the most important things we've
What's
done
our mission?
at Impest, we fuel businesses with the technology they need to succeed.
Perfect. I was just quizzing you really
Yeah,
quick.
I know you were. I know you were. So, but understanding what it is, and quizzing your team to understand what your company's mission is, and then additionally, what is our vision, what are our core values. Those are shared. Those are the shared fabric of the organization. So the first thing you have to really understand, and everybody has to understand, is we're here to achieve what? Why are we here, and what are we trying to do?
Yep.
And when you understand that, I think then it becomes easier to understand, well, when there is disconnects, or when there is another department that's doing something, it's not apart from you, it's part of you. So you need to understand what those things that they're doing, how are they doing it. When we start talking about tools, which I know we're putting this aside, but tools allow us to bring that information together and make it visible and transparent to everybody. So transparency is really, really critical. I think the final component, maybe not the final component, one of the most important critical components is the organization needs to know at a high level what it is that we're working to do, not just from a mission vision, but your goals and your objectives, the things you're trying to achieve change quarter by quarter, sometimes week by week, sometimes month by month. So understanding what it is that we're trying to do at a high level, how we're trying to service our accounts, and then where do I fit into that. So it's very important, I think, for organizations when you onboard new team members, that you dispense with this concept of that's how we've always done it. We go back and we talk about,
Kiss of death.
It's death.
It's a kiss
to
of death.
company, right?
That's kiss of death, right? So we talk about the platforms. It's like, well, it's easy to consolidate platforms, and this is my recommendation for any business owners out there, any leadership. You just have to ask the question, why are you doing it that way? And if somebody can't answer that question, or they're not sure, then it may be time for a change. So it's a simple question. Why? Why do we do that? Why is that? Why is that? Who implemented this? It's not surprising most people cannot answer that question. So that's the time to evaluate change. And if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, what is my reason for coming in during the day, and how other teams are part of that as part of an organizational flow, an organizational chart, I think it makes it difficult. It makes it easy for people to get siloed, and difficult for individuals to understand the universe is beyond just what I'm doing and working on a ticket, or generating a new lead, or talking to a client, or dealing with an issue for a client. Sometimes that when you're in client services, that can become frustrating. But the reality is, if you're there to service that client, then you want to resolve the issues, help them move to the next level. And that's, if we're reminded of that, I think that makes it easy.
Yeah, you asked platform agnostic, what can a company do to help themselves? One of them is just clear communication. One of the things that we have here is a morning meeting. I know exactly what's happening across the entire company, whether I'm involved with it or not. And so is everybody else. So they can see what marketing's doing. Marketing can see what, customer support's doing. Customer support knows what the account management team's doing. We all communicate, what has happened the day before or a couple days before every day. So it's clear communication is the biggest thing.
Well, that's a great point, Marty. I just want to build on that. Excellent. I'm surprised that wasn't at the top of my mind, but it is. We do a daily success call. We call it a daily success call because ultimately we want to celebrate the wins. There are plenty of things that happen in business every day that can be mounting or tough or it's difficult, and that's all right because those things do occur. But we don't want to start our day worrying about what we did or didn't do or what's the next problem that's lurking around the corner. We want to talk about what are the great things that we're doing as an organization. Yep. And so you got to start the day off right because everybody starts the day off a little differently. I had a flat tire.
Which I did 3 weeks ago.
I got in a fight with my partner. I had my kids are disobeying. So this could be a number of things that happen. My dog's sick, right? So how do we start collectively together? Good communication. Weekly we do weekly, if not monthly, check-ins with our team. So we encourage our managers to do regular check-ins. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out, letting them know about the various departments, and then we do a quarterly all-hands meeting where we really invite the entire staff to see how we're performing. And we have objectives and key results. I mentioned that OKRs, but we set them at company-wide, departmental, individual, and we track that through an entire quarter. So all of those things do maintain good communication.
Yeah. Yeah, no one here can say that they don't know what's happening or what's going on or why we're doing what we're doing. It's impossible.
Look, it's an investment. It's an investment that organizations make. I mean, this is a daily investment that goes into it, and it is truly about building more transparency, more alignment with everyone. It is about breaking down those silos. I mean, we have 6, 7, 8 departments within this organization, and if everybody was operating in silos, there's no way that we can achieve that mission or the vision.
And some in Greece too.
Yeah,
so now you have a team in Greece.
I mean, you still have remote. I mean, whether you're working in a distributed workforce or whether you're all in a single office, just because you're physically in an office doesn't necessarily mean that there's good collaboration and alignment between the departments. It's key. It's an investment we make every day. It's an investment that we made in the platforms to bring it, as you mentioned, OKRs, objectives and key results, something that we've incorporated for a number of years now to get full transparency across the organization and alignment. So it's not easy. It's something that needs to stay consistent. Just like marketing. Marketing, you can't just do marketing once and expect results immediately. The daily success call, we do it. It's daily. It happens every day.
Yeah.
Rain, sleet, shine, snow.
We're like the post office.
Yeah, we're there. We're doing that because there are people within our organization that we want to make sure that there's full alignment because ultimately we win together and we lose together. And
100%.
Even if there's a department over here that's doing an amazing job and the other one is struggling, we're only as good as our weakest link. So it's all about getting full alignment. And then that, I think, drives, as I was saying, the empathy and just understanding what another department is going through.
Right.
It's beautiful when you see that, when you see someone from across department that's saying, hey, let me give you a hand.
Right.
How can I help you with this? How can I make it better? They may be doing great on this side, but if this side's struggling, you got to be able to help.
I think it comes back down to what I said as well. We're trying to build. Everybody has to have an idea of where we're going, why we're going there. And then recently, this came about as part of our OKRs. We started creating playbooks, really good, well thought out playbooks. Because, let's face it. If anybody's played sports, they know you got to have a plan. You got to know what play am I running, and how am I going to be successful? How are we going to score a touchdown? How are we going to win the game? And ultimately, playbooks are really critical in that. So. But that only comes about and with understanding where you fit within that team and where you fit within the organization, and was pushed along through setting clear objectives that this is critical to the organization. We cannot be siloed and misaligned. We have to be working together.
And everyone can see those playbooks, so there's transparency across across the business where I can see I understand what customer service is going through,
Right.
Or I can see what the account management team is going through, or sales team. So I think that's very highly valuable, and it's another form of communication of here's what you're expected to do, and here's how you do it.
And the transparency side of it isn't just when someone is struggling. Just to be clear, as well, it isn't just when another company or I'm sorry, another department who may be considered silos doing their own thing, and it isn't just when it's seen as they're having struggles or issues. It can also be where this is where I think the magic happens is where how can another department, based on the experiences that they have working in on a part of this business, where they can actually bring new ideas to them, and it's actually making them better. One of our commitments is continual improvement.
Right.
We want to continual improvement in how we operate. So it isn't that department may be operating for the way it appears very well, but maybe they're only operating on 6 of their 8 cylinders, and they're governed. But the experiences at another department, and just having a team that's willing to take that feedback
Yeah.
and understand, egos, you check them at the door, best idea wins. Having that philosophy and understanding that that's how we operate as an organization. Other organizations need to incorporate those types of things. We've learned from experiences. 25 years, we've had many experiences operating. So it's really about how you can learn and make that continual improvement.
I agree, and feedback is critical, right? So we're constantly thinking of ways we can ask our clients, how can we be better? We want to elicit that feedback. We want to synthesize it. We want to say, hey, can we make improvements based on it? We want to look for patterns. We want to be better for our clients, because if we're better, they're better. But we do the same with our staff.
Yep.
Same thing with our staff. Tell us how we could be better. Tell us where we're missing the mark. Tell us what you've seen and experienced, and or ideas that you have that can make us better. And the reality is that every organization has areas where they have some strengths, some weaknesses. What we partner that with. Don't just tell us what's not working with. Tell us how we can make it better.
Exactly.
So find solutions. So I think that's important to elicit that feedback for any organization. Elicit that feedback.
Yeah, even cross department, if you're talking, operations or marketing or sales or whatever it is, marketing is CEO to the janitor. Everyone has an idea, and everyone is actually contributing to the positive message or negative message across the organization. So,
All right, good. Well, guys, I really appreciate having you in the studio today. Any closing thoughts or anything that you'd like to leave the audience with?
I don't know. I just think that some of the moves that we've made here is consolidate your apps and get everybody on the same page so they can see the same thing and they understand success or failures that happen.
Yeah, when we were evaluating our core values, if you recall, John.
Yeah, I remember.
So there was one that was posited, which was we are aligned, and I said, well, I don't think that one's necessary. I'm like, no. I think we got the other good ones, and everybody else felt strongly about it, and I reassessed it. I find myself oftentimes going back to that core value and saying we are aligned. They all play together. So we are accountable, we are aligned, we are disciplined, we are proactive, we are results oriented, we are respectful, we are trustworthy, we are team players.
Yep.
Right? But they all don't happen apart. They happen together. So my closing thoughts for our viewers would be define your vision, define your mission, your vision, and your core values, and then build your team and or help guide your team and mentor your team to embody those core values. That's very, very critical.
Absolutely, very critical. Really appreciate it. You said them all. You had them all.
You don't have to quiz me on that one.
No, it's very important.
Yeah.
And one of the important pieces there is, just to make note of that is the way that we display them and the way that we recite them is we are.
Yeah,
we are.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We're not just looking at words on a wall or words that were provided to us. It's we are. We need to instill them. So fantastic. Well, that's a wrap. That's a wrap for today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah. So having these silos, breaking down the silos isn't just a buzzword. It's something that all organizations need to maintain. When you get IT, sales, ops, HR, back office operating and rowing in the same direction, that really creates this magic within an organization and true success. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.